Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Battle Strategem Space Wolves, where I take a look at the Space Wolf Codex in this video, and some generalistic universal ideas for dealing with them regardless of the army you're playing from whatever codex you're playing. Before that, I want to say the polls are open again. Sorry for the lateness, I just couldn't get this video up earlier. I didn't have enough time. So, the voting can start with, or go, I should say, until Friday night. They can start the moment you see this video. And we'll go all the way until Friday night, and on Friday night I'll close the poll, count it up, and talk about the next codex, hopefully quicker than I talk about this one. Or not quicker, it's just in terms of length, but quicker in terms of days getting, waiting for it to come up. So anyway, Space Wolf Codex. The Space Wolves are a Marine chapter. They are Space Marines first and foremost, so they have and they should know no fear. So, being Space Marines, the regular universal anti-Space Marine tactics will apply to Space Wolves. And that's something that I believe people forget about. Just because it doesn't say Space Marines in the Codex doesn't mean they're not Space Marines. They are, as clear as day. So, they are just as vulnerable as any other Codex. On the flip side, real quickly, Dark Angels aren't any more susceptible to it just because people don't like their codex. So, you do see people tend to inflate or deflate certain Marine armies out there in terms of efficiency and how strong they are, as well as, dealing with weaknesses, depending on popularity. And while the Space Wolves were popular and still think kind of are, in general, they are just as vulnerable as the regular Space Marine Codex, or the Blood Angels, or the Dark Angels, or the Black Templars for anti-Space Marine tactics. Generalistically, of course. Now, they are assault geared, and they do have two special rules, one of which is very much for the assaulting. They have acute senses, which is handy in certain circumstances, and as well, they have counterattack as an army-wide special thing. Now, that's pretty cool. Why? Well, it makes the Space Wolves fill a certain role in the assaulting world. And that is, they can fill the role of receiving a charge. They can receive a charge better than other assault armies can because of counterattack. Something to keep in mind when you're going up against them. Not that you shouldn't charge them. If that's your army strength, and if you built an assault geared army, assault them. Don't be afraid to. It's just that don't forget and don't be alarmed if they all of a sudden bust out more dice than you were expecting to roll because they made their counterattack check. So that's for rules. Now, the Space Wolves is full of unique, independent-looking units as well as characters and HQ choices and upgrades. The Space Wolves, because of the fact that they can field 4 HQs, because of the fact that the Wolf Guard squads are very customizable, culminated with some other stuff in the Codex, you can have a very small yet pretty powerful Space Marine Codex. Keep that in mind when you're playing against them. You may have a good chance of outnumbering them and bringing more firepower to bear on them potentially, but being Space Marines and stuff like that, don't expect that to be an easy win or a win at all. Don't just expect it to happen that way. You're gonna have to earn it, just like facing any other codex. So, with that in mind, let's look at some things I think are key to touch upon regardless of whatever army you're playing against Space Wolves. Because every army has a way to be winning a close combat or otherwise to make an opponent make a morale or leadership test. Now, and a decent amount of codices have a way of doing it with a negative modifier. Tau with their marker lights for pinning people. I believe the Necrons have something like that. The Blood Angels have something like that. Other armies, I believe, do. But why is this important? Well, unless their basic squads, their troop choices, and other squads, which are leadership 8 for the most part, unless they're elites or long fangs because they're grizzled. The long fangs are grizzled old veterans. Those units aside, the rest have leadership 8. Your troop choices have leadership 8 Now, Leadership 8 is standard Space Marine leadership. Look at a Tactical Marine stat line. You'll see his leadership stat is 8. His Sergeant is what gives him the 9. Now, Space Wolves don't have a Sergeant equivalent built into the squad. They just don't. So, they're Leadership 8. Ties in the fact with it, if you're based around making people fail leadership or morale or causing a lot of those tests, you have a slight advantage on the Space Wolves over other Marines because they don't have Leadership 9 built into their squads. They need either an independent character like an HQ attached to their squad for the leadership boost, or they need a Wolf Guard attached to their squad for the leadership boost. So why does this matter? Well, now that HQ is stuck with the squad, now they probably wouldn't be anyway, he probably would be, but he's there. You know what's going on that way. The fact, if Wolf Guard are attached to the squad, that means the Wolf Guard squad is present, which means they had to spend points on said Wolf Guard squad to then break them down and use them and upgrade their Wolf Guards if they wanted to. Points that, may make the army a little smaller. Also points that you have to be aware about as far as, does it have a combi weapon or a power weapon or whatever. You'll see that obviously, but something to keep in mind. And it limits them, the Space Wolf, your opponent a little bit because, for example, the Grey Hunters, they can only take special weapons. They cannot take heavy weapons in their squad, but they can have up to 2 special weapons. They can get the second one if their squad size is 10. Now, if they're in a Rhino with a Wolf Guard, their squad size cannot be 10. Their squad size would be 9 with an attached Wolf Guard, so they will not have 2 special weapons. Things to think about and keep in mind when you're trying to assess threats and figure out what you're going to do. So that's one thing. It's not just the Grey Hunters, it's the Blood Claws, it's with their Swift Claw Assault Pack or Biker or whatever you want to call. The Swift Claw Bikers and the Sky Claw Assault Pack guys are also Leadership 8. The Thunderwolf Cavalry, Leadership 8. Something to keep in mind. So with that, we go to the Iron Priest, who's like the attack Leadership 8. But with that, we go to their heavy support, where you get their heavy weapons at. You get them from the Long Fangs, unless of course they take vehicles. But for non-vehicles, the Long Fangs are where they give you your heavy weapons. Now, the thing with the Long Fangs is they're pretty cool. They got fire control, that you split the fire from the heavy weapons, but the squad size is 1 squad leader and 1 to 5 Long Fangs, which means maximum of 6. Those Long Fangs must be equipped with a heavy weapon. You must upgrade them to take those. That means you can have up to 5 heavy weapons. Pretty cool. However, there's no real throwaway unit aside from the squad leader, but if he dies, you lose fire control. May not be important for the opponent you're playing. They may not want to split their fire anyway. But regardless, they don't have as many meat shields, if you will, as a Devastator squad. The Devastator squad can have a bunch of Bolter Marines in there, and you don't have to have 4 heavy weapons in there. Most people do, but it's not a must, it's a may. So you don't have to. So keep that in mind. A Devastator squad has more longevity, so when you're harassing a squad, it may take longer to get to the heavy weapons on a Devastator squad. It may be longer to get them to die or get them to make an armor save. Against Long Fangs, it can happen a lot quicker. So if you're going to pick a squad to harass a bit, and there's Long Fangs on the field, that'd be a good squad to harass, in my opinion. Just think of stuff like that in combination with the fact that Leadership 8, except for Long Fangs, they do have Leadership 9, but then with Wolf Guard being attached to certain squads, if they're mechanized or not, all these factors come together on top of generic anti-Space Marine tactics. And I think universally any codex can find it a little bit easier to deal with the Space Wolves, knowing this knowledge about the Space Wolves. So that's pretty much it. Again, very generalistic, I know, but I want every codex to be able to use what I'm saying here and extrapolate it to your own army list for whatever codex you're playing. So that's it for the Space Wolves. I'm not a fan of the Space Wolves, but they are an interesting army and they're a pretty good codex, but not really unbeatable. I think they have they don't really have much hype left anymore. The hype kind of dies once the codex comes out, but that's just my opinion, and that's my view on the Space Wolves as far as taking them down. Leave comments any you wish. if you wish, I should say. And until next time, take it easy.